Hey, good afternoon, Dr. Brown.
Hey, how you doing, Dr. Clark?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good.
Yeah. Let me get everything. All right. Man, first I want to say I'm excited to have this meeting with you. I know you just you just finished your journey as well. But I just want to start. I want to introduce myself first. I'm Dr. Edwin Brown. I'm a co-founder of Quality Coach. And today I'm joined by Dr. Clark, and we're going to be discussing the how to survive the dissertation proposal journey. But before we start, I just wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Gladly. So thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, my journey and just a little bit on myself. I'm a veteran of the United States Navy, served for 8 years. I grew up in San Diego, California. It's This journey has not been one that's been like kind of a lateral one. It's been filled with ups and downs, peaks and valleys
Oh
that
yeah.
led me down to wanting to even go down the doctoral path. It's not something that I thought that I would ever uh, it's not something I ever thought in my wildest dreams as a kid that I would be pursuing. I was kicked out of school at 11th grade, and I was told I wasn't going to graduate. So going from being a 11th grader, not knowing what, not even looking at college as an option, to someone that's walking across the stage recently and did a defense in December. It was a journey that was unexpected, to say the least, but it was well worth it. And so I work right now for the federal government. Been working for the federal government for the last almost 20 years. But I also work with City University of Seattle, and I work with National University. So two of my alma maters, I do a lot of work for them, representing those universities. They have both poured into me, so it's my journey and job to kind of pour that forward, moving forward.
And congratulations to your wife as well. She just
Thank
finished
you.
her journey as well too, man.
Yes,
That's
yes, yes. I'm so
nice.
proud of her. I'm so proud of her.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with I want to ask you what inspired you to start your doctorate?
Yeah, me and my wife were going through our programs at National University. I was 2017. I was graduating with my master's. She was graduating with her bachelor's degree. We have a really interconnected story. We've been together since high school. She was a freshman, I was a junior when we started dating each other. So she has seen my maturation process from a little boy to a man, and I have been there with her. So when we're going through this process, she entered us into a contest to tell our story for the University of National, and we were selected. We were invited to the dinner the day prior to the graduation. At this dinner, they asked us to speak. Now, we weren't prepared to speak, but National
Mhm.
was like, "Hey, you guys are
Yes.
recipients. You got to come here. You're
Yeah.
gonna you're gonna talk." I'm So we get up there, have the opportunity to speak. As I remember it differently, but my wife's memory is better. And so
Mhm.
she was like, basically, you were asked to speak first. I told a little bit about my childhood, the adversity growing up, being adopted, mom on drugs, not knowing my father, gang neighborhood that I was raised in, losing friends and all this stuff. By the time I got done talking and finished telling my story, everybody's in tears. And at the end of that, I said, "Hey, I would love to pursue a doctoral degree, but I do not have the financial needs." The chancellor of the university, Dr. Cunningham, who I recently took pictures with, he's on my LinkedIn page. He stood up and offered me on the spot a scholarship, Stanford scholarship, to pay for my doctoral journey. So you pick the university, National University will pay for it. And so that chance encounter, us being asked to speak, her entering us into a contest, is what led me and provided the opportunity for me to be here right now. So just, it's fate. it was really fate. It's something I wanted to do, but didn't have the means to do it. I wasn't going to be able to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to go pursue
Oh
this.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And National University provided the opportunity, and the rest is history.
Yeah. What did it? What were your expectations versus your reality of this journey of your doctoral journey?
So my expectations was that it was going to be difficult,
Mhm.
but I figured getting through the master's process, getting through the bachelor's process, it can't be that much more difficult to get through the
Yeah.
doctoral process. I'm like, I understand that many people don't do it. It's a high percentage of people that start doctoral programs and don't finish it, but I didn't think that really was going to apply to me. Well, it pretty much almost did. And so
Mhm. Yeah.
my expectation was going to be similar to the master's program. I'm a buckle down. I'm gonna get through it. During the master's program, I discovered that I have ADHD, which I didn't know. Which now that I'm going into the doctoral program, I can ask for reasonable accommodations for my ADHD. I can ask for reasonable accommodations because I'm slightly dyslexic. So these challenges that I had that I didn't even know prior
Mhm.
to, I'm coming into this program with a fresh start. So I'm like, hey, going in, I have an advantage over where I was before in my educational journey. And so I thought it was going to be easier. I
Yeah.
knew it was going to be challenging, but I thought it was going to be easier than everything I did before because now I have identified, I'm a grown man, I know what I want, and
Yeah.
I have to get this done because someone else is paying for it. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
so
Hey,
and
what would
but
you say surprised you the most? What was your biggest surprise?
my biggest surprise is I wasn't ready. there
Mhm.
wa- I was not ready. The doctoral level of writing, to the expectations from other doctors when they're reading your writing, and the
Mhm.
expectation for the level of research that you have to dove into in order for your writing to really be that level, the way you have to execute your sentences, the attention to detail that is
Mhm.
not expected, that's so much more above the master's level
Yes.
of writing.
Agreed.
I
Yeah.
was not ready for that. And so, like I said, I went into this program thinking, okay, I just have to continue on doing what I was doing in my master's program and I'm going
Yeah.
to be fine.
Mhm.
Absolutely not, because
Yeah.
the expectation is risen. When you have doctor in front of your name, there's a standard that was set before
Yes.
you. And
Mhm.
so, if you're going to weed people out this process, you have to write as if you
Mhm.
already have that doctor in front of your name. And so when I submitted papers as if I'm just a master's student and not submitting to where I want to be, that's a problem. And so
Yeah.
I was not ready for that
Yeah.
throughout the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. I think for me, the biggest surprise too, or was how a lot of people picture the doctorate being mostly coursework and exams, but nobody really prepares you for the independent, unstructured research part of it. It's a lonely journey.
It is a very
Yeah.
lonely journey.
Yeah. Why the proposal is often the hardest part, do you think?
I believe it's the hardest part because you're going through the coursework, right? And then I think
Mhm.
through the development of the coursework, you're kind of getting an idea of what you want to do and why
Yeah.
you want to do it. And so it was
Mhm.
early on through my first couple classes that I started to get an idea like, man, this is really what I want to focus on. But now you're drawing these conclusions to work that you haven't even done yet, the research that
Yeah.
hasn't even developed yet. So
Yes.
I think that it's you yeah, the proposal process is hard because you have to kind of lose yourself and forget. You have to
Mhm.
bring in the fresh a fresh sense of I don't know. This is what I want to do. This is
Mhm.
how I want to do it
Yeah.
in order to get the results that I cannot dictate. I have to independently let the research do the work for me. And
Mhm.
that was the hardest. That was the hardest part, is taking yourself out of it, especially in chapter two.
Mhm.
The literature review. Man, writing a
Yeah.
literature review
Yes. Yes,
is
sir.
extremely
Yes,
difficult at
sir.
the doctoral
Yes,
level.
sir. Yeah.
It is extremely difficult at the
Yeah.
doctoral level. And I'm like, because this is not your work.
Hmm.
It's a review of other people's work, but you're reading it and you're invested in this because you know where you want this path to lead. And
Hmm.
so it's really hard to take yourself out of this
Hmm.
and to not. I found myself using articles to my to fashion my voice in the work when I shouldn't
Yeah.
have been doing that. Because this is not my voice, it is not my work. This is another author's voice and it's another author's work. But I want that author to say what I want that author to say. So
Hmm.
I take bits and pieces of work that really does not say what I'm trying to lead it to say. And that part of it is really difficult. The literature review,
Hmm.
mine was probably about 30 pages long, and it
Yeah.
really took me the longest portion because I had to. A lot of my revisions was me taking my voice out of it. Does it, especially when you're talking to other people that understand that the level of research that you're doing, because that's your committee is based on
Hmm.
people around your subject. So
Hmm.
I'll send it back to them, and they're like, no, that article doesn't say that. That is
Yeah.
not
Yes.
that is
Yeah.
not what that article is saying. That's what you
Hmm.
wanted to say, but it's not
Yeah.
supporting what you're saying in the context that you're using it in this literature review. You're going to have to remove it or find me some evidence that really shows that this is what it's saying. And that's tough.
Yeah.
That's the tough part.
What what do you think some common struggles from like your personal experience that you can see that qualitative researchers having on their doctoral journeys, like some of the common struggles that they experience, or
Yes.
what's some that you experience?
Well, some that I experienced, and we're focusing and looking. So if we're looking at the overall, I could really dove into what it took as far as the qualitative research that I did after
Mhm.
chapter three, when I actually did my independent research and I'm
Mhm.
doing these interviews and I'm trying to come up with themes and I'm listening to hours upon hours of
Mhm.
interviews
Yeah.
and I'm coming up with my processes and all this stuff like that. That's a whole different conversation and struggle
Yeah.
because once again, how do I take myself out of this research? Because especially the research that to me, my study is a qualitative study that focused and that I wanted to look at the impact that cultural interactions had on the elementary classroom. So I looked at a classroom inside of Southern California, in a school district inside of Southern California. It had 40 different languages in this one school district, 40 different languages. So I wanted to see how the teachers cultural interactions previous that they
Mhm.
brought into the school
Mhm.
and what they have learned while interacting in the school. So they have to have a certain amount of years that they have been in the school district. And I wanted to see what the impact was going to be, their perception of how they're doing, because I'm not going to look at the students. I needed to see how you perceived your job to be done, how you perceived yourself in this environment. What's your definition of culture? What's your definition and then trying to collect all these data points, but still not assert myself. And then even when you're doing the interviews for a qualitative study, I'm doing the
Yeah.
interviews like we're doing now. It was so hard to be on the other end of this conversation. So to be in your seat
Mhm.
and listen to that person talk, and I want to interject, but during my
Yeah.
first couple of interviews, I realized
Mhm.
every time I interject, no matter what, even though I said, man, that's good, or yes, like, or I shook my head or I made a face, that changes their
Mhm.
approach and what they're saying because now I'm giving them feedback, whether it's verbal or nonverbal, and I could change the results of what they're going to say. So because I did a phenomenology study. So I'm focused on your lived experience. So if I'm doing a
Mhm.
qualitative study and a phenomenology study together, and I'm looking at your lived experience, but
Yeah.
then
Mhm.
I'm making comments and changing how you feel or how you perceive that this is
Yeah.
going based on the interaction that we're having. That's hard to do. So I had to really the hardest
Mhm.
part for me was really taking myself out of that. And I actually would give the people a warning, like, hey, before we enter this, I'm not going to say anything. That doesn't mean you're doing bad or you answered it wrong, because there is no wrong answer, because it's a phenomenology study. It's based on you.
Yeah.
There is no wrong answer, but I'm not going to give you any feedback, because I don't want my perception of what I believe should be said, to change the end results, which is going to change my themes, which is going to change my results in my study. So, but if you're looking at the proposal process, it was even get into that. How do I even
Yeah.
know when I'm looking at, the introduction, then chapter 2 literature review, and then chapter 3 is methodology. For us, methodology, how I have no idea. I have no idea what a phenomenology study is. Now, this is something that came up in one of my classes,
Yeah.
but I'm not really familiar with it. It's not a
Mhm.
common. It's not something that comes up in common conversation. That hey, you did this phenomenology study. I never heard of this before my doctoral classes. But then I
Mhm.
realized that this is the tool that's going to be best to get the results that I'm looking for, and to really
Mhm.
measure. How do you get a proper measuring stick of so many people that's going to take that you're going to interview, and want them to, what best fits into a qualitative study? Well, there's only certain things you could do for a qualitative study, and this is one of the methodologies that have been proven over time that is
Yeah.
effective for a qualitative study. And so it was really coming down to that, figuring that out,
Mhm.
and then writing out a proper plan when I have never did anything or heard, really
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
have a great
I was in
knowledge,
that
a
same
grasp
boat. Yeah, I was
of
in that same boat.
phenomenology.
Yeah, yep. I know what you mean. Yeah, I think some of the struggles I had too was choosing and narrowing my topic, man, and finding something that was both meaningful and picking the methodology as you just spoke of, and aligning the problem statement, getting everything in alignment, the statement, the questions, and all that. That was some of my biggest struggles. And then the isolation when you got to the dissertation, where you didn't have the class mates, and no you didn't have the syllabus, and really
Yes.
the finish line wasn't completely in sight. That was, I would say, for me, some of my biggest struggles that I came across.
What you're saying, I think, is common across the board. And I think a lot of doctoral students and people that will hear this conversation
Mhm.
will feel the same way, because I was in the same boat. I believe my wife was in the same
Yeah.
boat. How do we choose
Mhm.
a topic? Well, I told you earlier that early in my studies, there were certain things that we picked up in my classes, certain topics that we went over, that I was like, okay, this is important to me. So it stuck. So I started kind of building that out, and started building that out. But over time,
Yeah.
and especially as I got in closer, and we did I'm writing out the fundamentals of what the study is going to look like, and usually it's called a prospectus that we use. A prospectus tool, it writes out all chapters and what parts you're going to need, and you got to get this go through your dissertation chair, and they got to make sure that you at least have a blueprint before you even get to the proposal on
Yeah.
what you want
Yeah.
to do. So that
Yeah.
perspectives tool is a very effective tool, because if you narrow that down, at least you have a kind of blueprint plan before you start writing. Because everybody, when you start writing, it's a blank sheet. There is no help here. It's
True,
a
true.
blank
Yeah,
piece of
yeah.
paper
Yeah.
that is going to turn into thousands upon thousands of words. But where do
Yeah.
you start? And
Yeah.
so understanding that topic, the topic is going to drive everything else. Well, my topic changed over and over. So at first, my topic I wanted to focus on cultural intelligence. Cultural intelligence is a big CQ has been big to me. It was one of those things that really stuck out. I'm like, well, in our society today, where we're at in education, where we're at in society, how could this tool of cultural intelligence impact
Mhm.
the next generation and the next generation? How could these studies impact students? How could the
Mhm.
studies help teachers be a better version of themselves? Well, as I looked at cultural intelligence, because cultural intelligence has been studied in the classroom before, and there's plenty of studies on cultural intelligence, I found it was going to be hard without having a proper measuring tool. So, am I going to give the teachers a survey that's going to measure them on cultural intelligence? And that's kind of changing. That's changing the tool away from a qualitative study to maybe a mixed method study. And it's like, so now I have to change my topic. And so like if I'm not looking at the students, if I'm not giving them a tool that's going to measure this, if I'm not
Mhm.
doing this and I'm not doing that, then my topic ends up shifting. So instead of looking at cultural intelligence, I changed it to cultural interactions. Now this is not a widely studied topic. Cultural intelligence has plenty of literature out there. Cultural interactions is something totally different, but you're using some of the same foundational principles that's built into cultural intelligence. And some of the other literature based on, race in the classrooms and stuff that has been really prevalent over the last 10, 15 years to build your foundation on something that's really fresh and is new. But that if you do not narrow down that topic, if your topic for me changed
Yeah.
as I was writing, I'm already finished writing, and then my topic changed. Well, guess what? Now my topic changed. Now my research has to change. So my a lot of my articles in chapter 2 it changed. I needed to go find other supporting articles in chapter 2. So now I don't take all those ones that have CQ out because they're relevant. But I can't carry all of them either. And so it was difficult. And I think your problem, my struggle in this proposal process, I think it's common to a lot of students. I think a lot of students will feel the same way. And
Mhm.
hopefully you do not get overwhelmed in that because it can be overwhelming to even get that topic down to understand your approach, to understand the alignment of your topic, your approach, the methodology, all this stuff. How does that all go together? It is overwhelming at times.
Yeah. You know what? I forgot to ask you, could you tell us your topic? Could you tell us the name of your topic?
Yes. So my topic is, I'm sorry, it's very long. So uh, it was, it was understanding the impact of cultural interactions in an elementary classroom setting. So the whole topic was the focus on teachers' impact, cultural impact that it plays in the elementary classroom setting. So I looked at K through sixth grade. Some of the teachers they're at middle schools, but they're still teaching sixth
Hmm.
grade. And then I had a mixed bag, male, female. The study you had to have at least 2 to 3 years in the school district. So it was no new teachers because I didn't want someone coming into the school district, never taught before, first time in the classroom. And then that could be overwhelming and that's going to change the results. But I also wanted diversity amongst the teacher population that I chose. So I also looked at 11 different schools within that school district. So 11 different schools, 40 different languages, and a total of 18 different teachers.
Okay. Okay. Can you talk a little bit about the results? What were your results through what did you come up with your
Well,
analysis?
so yeah, the results were surprising, to say the least. So what I
Hmm.
figured was going to point one way, I figured that going into it, that the teachers that grew up in diverse settings, that understood, that had a stronger foundation of culture, had a better identity of what diversity meant to them. It really could define it. It could define um, that grew up in diverse culturally settings themselves would then uh, have a stronger foothold on dealing with a diverse classroom setting, embracing change, embracing other cultures and stuff. But what I found is that it didn't matter. It completely didn't matter. You had a teacher that grew up in I believe Iowa or Idaho. Um, Never she admitted uh, grew up small town because that was one of the questions that I asked. How much diversity was in her school that she went into. She came from no diversity at her school, no diversity in her small town, no
Oh wow.
diversity in her college. So she did not experience diversity really to being an adult, moving in Southern California, and then coming into the school district. She answered the question as as best as you could ask a teacher, and that to answer a question that is undersourced, under
Mhm.
resourced, and is in a situation that is not beneficial to her success, but she is making the best out of it. She showed a lot of cultural adaptation. She embraced the cultural norms of the students. So they had students that were coming from the Middle East. I had students that was coming out of Africa. She was embracing them by putting stuff in the classroom that represented their cultures, not just American culture.
Mhm.
So she celebrated their holidays in the classroom. She celebrated their language in the classroom. She made sure to make connections inside the classroom and outside the classroom. That same teacher, one of the big things from the school district that they did was something called home visits. And one of my
Mhm.
recommendations is that home visits is something that needs to be really mandatory across the school district. The home visits were the teacher will go into the house outside of school hours. The teacher will go into the house and pretty much bond with the family. They're not talking about school. They're not talking about grades and the child behavior. But what it did is give the parents and the child a chance to bond with the teacher and create an organic relationship that would then create empowerment for the child. So the child felt better about their situation. And I could not measure it, but the teacher, one thing I could measure was the teachers that participated in the home visits, they felt that they were more successful in the classroom. And if
Mhm.
you feel that you're doing better at something, if you feel more empowered, if you feel more connected with the student body, then most
Mhm.
likely you're going to get better results. The teachers that on the opposite end of her that weren't doing that in the study, that didn't do home visits, that did not go to community events, that went to school, taught, didn't embrace other cultures, didn't make try to make connections and friend groups inside the classroom to help strengthen the bond between students and stuff, and went home.
Yeah.
They really couldn't define diversity. They really couldn't define culture. One teacher really told me that basically none of it kind of mattered and that they don't believe in this stuff and they were having a bad time. They just left their last school district and they were pretty much going to leave this one.
Mhm.
And so if you have that attitude in the classroom, the the way I'm not saying you can't be successful, but the
Yeah.
likelihood that you're making the greatest impact on the student, which this is about the student
Mhm.
overall, is I think that percentage is lower. And so it was really defining in the answers could
Mhm.
tell me how they perceive themselves was the way they interacted with the students in the classroom. So if they were having a bad time or hard times, just human nature. They don't think they're getting the support they need. They don't want to do all this extra stuff because you're not getting paid to do home visits. You're not getting paid to go to community events. You're not getting paid for all this stuff. And if they
Yeah.
don't see the importance in doing that stuff for the student success, then their answers reflected of that.
Okay.
And
So,
so when I say they're under resourced, one of my suggestions was one, home visits should be incentivized because
mhm.
of the perceived impact that it had on the majority of the teachers that were participating in that program. Two, the technology inside the classroom. So there's Google Translate. There's all these technology that exists from an IT perspective that you can integrate into the classroom that could help break some of the language barriers. The problem at the school is that as a teacher, I'm in a classroom. I cannot communicate with you because this is your third language. You're just coming to America. You're coming from a war-torn country. You're coming from a Muslim country. I'm a woman teaching in the United States. Now you're trying to unlearn what's going on. You have trauma from childhood that you're bringing into the space. You're already 2 to 3 grade levels behind where you should be for this country. And then
Mhm.
we don't speak the same language. and you're trying to learn my language, but I can't even communicate with you. And it would have to go to a translator at the district, and the district would then go to the parents in order for them to speak to the parents. Well, by the
Hmm.
time that communication ripples back and comes back to the teacher, I mean back to the district and then to the teacher, that problem could be a week old.
Yeah.
And so you just lost a whole week
Yeah.
of being
Yeah.
able to be effective in your classroom because of lack of resources that the school district offers. And to me, that's just unacceptable because if we're going to support the students in certain ways, we need to understand how to take full advantage of technology. You do not need more on-site translators, but what you do need is to utilize and invest in better technology that will allow for this communication process to happen faster.
Mhm. So my next question was going to be, is this the topic that, like when you're at proposal, was this the same topic at proposal, or did you have to refine it after the proposal?
So as I was going to my proposal process, I did have to refine it. So that's what I was saying before. I was focused on cultural intelligence.
Mm.
Everything that I wrote in my first three chapters was on cultural intelligence. When I submitted my proposal, I was told that, hey, this is more of a mixed method study, not a
Yeah.
qualitative study.
Yeah.
The way you're trying to do it and being able to go to IRB through after your proposal and all that after
Yeah.
this stuff, you're not going to get through IRB.
Hmm.
You're just not. You're in order to get the results that you need. You're going to for this type of study. You're also going to need to talk to the students. They're not going to approve you to talk to the students. And if they did, it's going to take a lot longer than you want to take.
Well,
What I
yeah.
suggest, and this is what
Hmm.
they were, when my committee told me, what I suggest is we tweak this topic, we work on the
Hmm.
topic together, we tweak some of your research. So you're going to have to go back in, you're going to have to do
Yeah.
rewrites. And I did have to go back in, I have to do rewrites. And we're going to come up with language that is more qualitative in nature. We're going to come up with a study that's more
Hmm.
qualitative in nature, and we're
Yeah.
going to pursue it. You do not lose what you want to do, but what you want to do, you need to get, you could get done after you have doctor in front of your name.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's understandable, especially for me, because I could say it took me a long time to get through the first three chapters.
Yeah.
So that proposal process, I'm watching people in my cohort, they're finished. They're
Hmm.
completely,
Hmm.
they did the proposal, they're through IRB, they done wrote the whole thing. They're done. They're about to
Hmm.
defend, they got doctor in front of their name. And and so you start to judge yourself based on other people's success. Like, okay, this
Yeah.
person's
Oh,
doing it.
yeah.
I should be done. I should be here. I'm getting taken out of I'm getting taken out of regular class because they have proposal classes, and I'm getting put into the holding class in order to pass the stage. So my chapters are approved, uh, um, and
Mhm.
and that was challenging mentally. And so
Yeah.
then when you get to a point where you think you're good, and then they tell you, no, not only are you not good, but we need you to go rewrite all this. That's that would break you down. That would break you down,
You just
and
said
that's
something
hard.
that was actually I was going to ask you next. How did you take the revisions, like the committee feedback? Like how did you perceive it? Like were you frustrated, or did you kind of take a little personally?
I definitely took it personal at
Mhm.
first, right? And so it
Yeah.
really it's the delivery and the message, and it's for anybody that's listening. You have to take yourself and your emotions out of it, right? These people, like I'm a chair, a dissertation. I'm a member of a dissertation committee. It is not personal for me. What I
Hmm.
want is for you to have the best product ever that you can have that you're going to be proud of, right? This is what I want from as a chair member. What I want is when my name is on it when you're finished, for me to be proud of the work that you did. What I want is for you to represent the university and represent what it means to have doctor in front of your name. That's coming on the back end. I understand
Oh,
that
yeah.
now, but going through the process,
Yeah.
I, I I think a lot of my previous traumas that I have experienced came back into play. I was on academic probation at one time while going through this process, going through my classes. I wasn't doing well. I was overwhelmed. It was hard. It's hard to be isolated. It's hard to go on a journey that you do not know. I have a lot of doctoral friends now, but I did not at that time.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling. I'm by myself. I'm overwhelmed. And then you're going through this new writing process. And I literally had one of the faculty chair members quit before I finished my proposal. And that person told me, and I quote, "You will never be a doctor. You do not deserve to be a doctor. And this is not for you." And they quit. Now they're no longer at the university, but to tell somebody that it's wrong,
Yeah.
there's no good that can come out of you trying to tear someone down like that. And for me, it was one of the times that I really wanted to quit because uh, that was a trigger to me. That's something I've been told as a kid, that you're not good enough, that you're not smart enough. Like I said, I got kicked out of school in 11th grade.
Yeah.
So I came from a neighborhood where the expectation to go to college was not there. The expectation to be successful was not there. I was more likely to be a gang member in jail than to be Dr. Victoria Clark. The statistics, if we was to look at what I was more likely to do, is I was more likely to live a criminal lifestyle and end up in prison than end up Dr. Torian Clark. So then when I have struggled, and that person doesn't know this, but I know I have struggled through elementary, through middle school, through high school, now through college, and then you're telling me again, I'm not good enough. You're not the first person that tells me. So now you're just reiterating every voice that has ever told me I'm not going to be good enough. And for me, that takes a lot of self-healing, a lot of understanding who I am to overcome that and say, no, I am good enough. Who are you? Who are you to tell me I'm not going to be able to do something? You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be conquered by your words. I'm a conqueror that's going to overcome your words. And so that was hard, and it took me a very long time to get through my first 3 chapters and rewriting. But as I rewrote and submitted, I said, every time I turn it in, you will not be able to give me the same feedback that I did this wrong. Every time I turned it in, I realized that I created a better version that I'm more proud of than if I would have turned it in and it was accepted the first time. So, matter of fact, by the person quitting on me, you did me a favor. You did me a favor.
I was going to ask you how the feedback actually strengthened your research, and you pretty much just answered it. I was going to ask you.
Not only did that person quit on me, as I was going through the final portion, I turned in my final product. I did all my independent research. Everything's tied together. 120, 30 pages is all written and buttoned up. I turned it into my chair. My chair signed off on it. 2 of my committee members signed off on it, and it goes to the board to get the final approval before going up to the dean. And they tore it apart. They tore the whole thing apart. They tore apart my alignment. They tore apart the research. They tore apart. They could see my voice being interjected in some of the quotes and this and that. And they tore it apart. And it was like, oh man, this is happening all over again. But this time I'm thinking I'm done. I am completely finished. I'm about to be Dr. Clark.
Yeah.
But this time I did not let that get me down. What I did is I looked at his comments. I looked at his comments and I said, okay, how do I conquer this? How do I overcome this? And I buckled down. My chair at that time left the university. So my chair was with me for this whole time. She was with me because it took me all 7 years. So my chair, by the time I joined her 3 years, so I was writing for 3 years. By the time I started writing, she was there with me. She had already she already helped about 20 students get through the process. She was dealing with internal turmoil. She was leaving the university. She just wanted to leave. So she was.
And this was one of your committee?
This is my committee chair.
Yeah.
So my committee chair ends up leaving the university. And
Oh,
again,
wow.
it was a blessing in disguise because and I was shot his name out, Dr. Rankins, Presley Rankins took over, who is
Mhm.
charged of the program, overall in charge of the program. And he's the guy that tore apart my research. When he took over and he said with me, he said, hey, Torian, I want you to get this done. You're here. You're still at that 90%. You're almost
Yeah.
done. Here's what we're gonna do. Every comment, you're gonna go back in, you're gonna do this. By the time I finished the rewrite in his comments, I said he was right. You were right. And now I feel so much better that you caught the errors that I had, that you helped me restructure some of the stuff, that you helped me because this is a better product. Not only is it a better product, but now I understand the standard. So when I did my defense and I'm going through this and I'm emotional and I'm doing my defense and he's in there uh, to on my board for my defense, I get offered a job on the spot by them because I'm telling them, hey, this wasn't easy for me.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
only get 7 years in this program and you're kicked out.
Hmm.
You're done. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I'm at
Hmm.
the end. I cannot turn back. And
Yeah.
as I'm going through this process, I realized that, okay, it's this was for the betterment and how can I help another student in the future. That's always going to look
Yeah.
at it. It's like, man, if I
Yeah.
went through something, I would say this for anybody, this is kind of how my mindset has always been. My worst times, like the stuff that was the toughest, usually becomes the best lessons. And that's what propels me to do the stuff that I'm doing. My childhood struggles in education is the reason why I didn't go study business and get a doctorate in business, but I got a doctorate in education. That's why I'm pursuing and doing volunteer work and helping National University with the Anders. That's why I'm doing all this stuff with kids and because this is my motivation. This is my why. This is my purpose. This is it. I want to inspire others. I want to pour into people that do not know that they need to know me. And so, even in my beginning, my reflection and my dissertation, I wrote this journey was not about me. It will never be about me. It was about the little boy and girl that I haven't met. That one day I'm gonna impact their life by the research that I do, by the program that I create, by something that I do. They need to know me, so I had to finish this. And now my work is something I'm supremely proud of because not only am I supremely proud of because of the end product, but I'm supremely proud of the perseverance that I showed through the journey because it's so easy to quit. And that's why a lot of people are ABD. That's why a lot of people don't finish the programs to begin with and don't even get to the ABD,
Yeah. Yeah. I was
because
going to ask you next. So, what are some strategies that helped you through the revisions? You would say, like a couple of strategies that you started implementing during that
yes.
phase.
So, one, technology, man.
Hmm.
You have to use technology to your absolutely supreme advantage. The
Hmm.
computers, right? My computer will allow me to put paper to paper, to the revisions next to each other,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
really carve out what's different, what's alike, and be able to remove sections. Being able to use Grammarly, being able to use chat to identify certain things that's in the paper and then be able to go back into the paper and just remove that right away. You know what I'm saying? So that helped me speed it up. Track changes, just basic writing principles that you take for granted when you're doing something all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And so those
Yeah.
basic writing fundamentals, using track changes, using Grammarly, using chat, using your AI tools that's on your computer to then enhance your ability to catch something, to see something, to make faster changes, and then to be able to track those changes were important. I started highlighting everything. So
Hmm.
if I made it, so I'll turn track changes on and everything would be highlighted. So every time I made a change, it wouldn't delete. I'll send a clean copy, and I'll send a clean copy back, and I'll send the original from what they said. So then they could put the paper to paper and see, hey, this paragraph was added, this paragraph is subtracted,
Damn, I
and
wouldn't have
now
never thought about that. I wouldn't have
yes,
never thought of that.
yeah, it was, and that was so helpful by sending those clean copies and having a dirty copy, because then I can see every revision. So because you're thinking about it, you're 75
Yeah.
pages in. How is it? How
Hmm.
are you going to keep track of everything that you're doing? Like
Yeah.
it's impossible. It's like, so
Hmm.
once I started doing that and then highlighting it, I know on page 75 I took this whole paragraph out. Why did you take this paragraph out? Oh, here's the comment. I needed to take this paragraph out. I needed to insert all this information to support the supporting information on the paragraph below and the information that led into that. Here's why. And here's both copies. And here's to show you I did exactly what you wanted me to do.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that was supremely helpful. It was supremely helpful. I actually stopped stumbling a lot once I started to really utilize technology to my advantage.
Hmm. Yeah. I would say some strategies that work for me as a, I would say to sort feedback into categories, and I try to fix things quickly because I know me, my memory is like, so I try to implement that strategy and to track every revision in a single tracking document. I started learning how to use Word Excel for my strategy though. But
Hmm.
I want to ask you this question too. What helped you finish, and what helped you stay disciplined when motivation faded during your proposal?
Yeah, I would say so. What helped me finish is my team, man.
Hmm.
I don't, we say this is an isolated journey because most people that we will come in contact that have education will never go through the same journey that we're going through. So it's very isolating, achieving or going through something that not many people have went through.
Hmm.
I was fortunate to have people around me that I
Yeah,
was able to call on to at the end. Dr. Joseph
I
Johnson
like
used to be
that.
the Dean
Yeah,
of
like that.
Education at San Diego State. He's been in education for 30, 40 years. He,
Hmm.
I was able to call and lean on him. Hey, Dr. Johnson, can you take a look at this? Can you give me some tips? What do you, you're a teacher that taught teachers for years. You were the Dean of Education, the provost at San Diego State. How can I get through this? Being able to call and say, hey, I don't know. I am stuck. You've been through this before. What advice do you have for me? And some of it wasn't, they weren't even giving me advice. It was just, hey, you're frustrated. You need somebody to talk to that will understand what you're
Yeah.
going through. They'll give me some advice and say, basically, hey, get back to it. You're too close to quit. It
Hmm.
was times that I was in tears, ready to quit. Like, this is not for me. I'm about to give up. And then I remembered, like, hey, why? What is your why?
Hmm.
Is my why, my purpose for people to call me Dr. Clark? Is
Yeah.
my purpose to make more money? Or is my purpose to have impact? That little boy or girl needs me to finish.
Hmm.
What I have two children,
You
right?
said
One's in
something that was
college.
key, purpose. You said it, purpose. That's key, man. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, no, man.
And
It's
if your family's your purpose, your yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
so, and it was, if you know your why, you know your purpose, and you can align that with what you're doing,
yeah.
then it is easy to say, hey, this Saturday morning, it was days, that was Saturday, Sundays, that hey, I would sit here for 8 hours like it's a work day, and I am working, isolated in the room, putting pen to paper,
Hmm.
doing not physically, but putting pen to paper,
Yeah.
doing corrections, doing revisions, doing additional research,
Hmm.
and making this happen. And that sacrifice you have to be willing to undertake if you know what your purpose is.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
if your purpose is not strong enough to overcome the obstacles, then you'll
Hmm.
eventually quit
Yes. Hmm.
because it's
Yeah.
willpower. It
Yeah.
is 100% willpower. That willpower got me through boot camp. It got me out my neighborhood that I grew up in. It has helped me overcome so
Hmm.
much in my life, understanding I have a greater purpose than what I'm currently in. I did
Hmm.
not. I was not given the opportunity to speak at that dinner. I was not. all the life experiences that came up to that point that I used to speak at that dinner did not happen for me to get to this point and quit because someone said I'm not good enough because I have some changes to go back over. No, absolutely not.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So you get the proposal back and they approve it. What's that feeling like when you get the proposal back? Everything you've been through, when you finally get that final proposal back and it's approved, would you build confidence? Did you confidence after that?
It did. It was a sense of success. It was like, okay, this is something that I can do. I just reached a hurdle that most people do not reach. So it's like I'm climbing this mountain. So you climb Mount Everest, right? You can't climb Mount Everest and get to the top in one day, you know. So it takes time and steps, and you got to. And so it was one of those check marks on that ascension to the top of the mountain that now I hit. That's that marker that, okay, hey, the goal is there. The goal is to reach the peak of the mountain, but I have to hit this first. And so for me, it was like it's a reset. Now I'm on a new clock. Now I'm on this new journey. Now I have permission to go into IRB to get to my research. Like I have this permission. And for me, it was a joy of finally understanding that I get to seek my own research. I'm out to talk to these teachers at this school, and I'm starting to, because part of the proposal on IRB process, I'm writing down what my plan for talking to them and how I'm gonna contact them and all that stuff. This is all new and it's exciting to me. So I'm like, this, and what I was told by so many is that the hardest part is over. The rest is going to write itself, especially on a qualitative study. It was like the coming up with the themes and stuff is difficult, but when you're doing so much research, when you have hours upon hours of people talking and you're using technology to your advantage because it's recorded, and then now I'm just going through and I'm just picking out everything, and I'm like, okay, here's my 7 themes, here's this, and I'm laying this out in a qualitative manner. I'm like, okay, it truly is writing itself. The findings, the suggestions, and everything is true. It's like I don't have to come up with the suggestions. These answers that they came up with, the themes that have came out of this is coming up with the suggestions on what we should do. It was clear that one of the suggestions should be the implementation of home visits, because 12 other teachers that showed the most, that the perception of the most success in the classroom, that answered the questions pretty much on par with each other, they all said they do it. So to me, this well, these teachers perceive to be very successful. Most of them have 10 plus years in the classroom. This is where they stood before. This is where they stand now. And if you want your teachers to be like these model teachers on paper, then this is one thing that they should do to lend to their success. Again, this is the easy part. And so it was exciting to get through that process because I knew it was on the other side. And on the other side, it's me being able to, I felt so much joy. Sending those Zoom requests out, getting approval from the school, getting approval from the Board of Education, sending those invites out, getting responses from teachers, then setting up the Zoom request. And then the first Zoom request and the first Zoom meeting that I did was the week of Christmas. And when I did that recording and I sat down with that teacher, I was happy. And but I did mess up. And that's what I told you. I said, because I'm so overjoyed about where I'm at in this process, and then the research and the possibilities for the school district based off this research, that made me interject. And so I learned from that. I was like, okay, I can't say nothing. I need to tone me back in order to not have so much interaction in this interview. But I think once you reach that plateau of the proposal approval, you know what's next. And what's next is you're going to eventually reach that top of that mountain. And that's the goal, because the top of the mountain is you defending your dissertation and them saying, hey, you are now one of us. And no one can ever take that from you.
So let me ask you this. So now looking back, you completed the program. Looking back through that proposal process, what was something that you would say you would avoid today? If you can name two things, what would you avoid today through that proposal process?
Oh, something I will. Okay. So, one, if I would go back and I would have defined my topic earlier in the process.
It's a good one.
Defining your topic early in the process, understanding because you're
Mm,
doing so much writing and
yes.
your research and your writing is all tailored based off your topic because that's what you're writing about, right?
Hmm.
Well, if your topic changes, everything else that you're writing about has to change as well. And so defining my topic, that would be the biggest one. Doing that early in the process, locking that down. You definitely want to lock that down, in my opinion, before you start your literature review on chapter 2. You definitely, because all your
Yeah.
literature for your literature review needs to be focused around supporting documentation for or against your topic. Because you
Hmm.
have to have a parameter of everything. So what does industry have said? So prior researchers say about your topic, and so especially like I use critical race theory. I use different other research to help form this. But some of the research came on later on as I switched gears from cultural intelligence and I was
Yeah.
going to cultural interactions. Well, now I have to look up a little bit more about what a critical race and these applications have been used in the classroom. And so
Yeah.
once I started doing that, if I'd have did that earlier, it would have helped me. The second thing is using either a writing support for those that are not strong writers, because writing support are definitely I paid for the premier version of Grammarly. Grammarly is like it's like magic. It doesn't catch everything, but the English language is so difficult, and
Hmm.
when you're writing at a
Yeah.
doctoral level,
Heck
you do
yeah.
not catch everything that you are doing. So, and a lot of my writing, I would be transcribing. So I will sit here because I'm going to write 10 pages today. I'm going to dictate. So I'm dictating to the computer, and then I'll let Grammarly come in and do some of the edits. Oh, I missed a comment here. I said, this word doesn't really fit. How can I have this repeat word, this repeat kind of sentence structure. How can I change that? How can I restructure that so that my flow is better? And having a second set of eyes, a real person that has done this before, and having Grammarly would be the help that I think would have supported me finishing that process a little bit faster.
Yeah. Hey, we got 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left because the timer go off. But
No
I
worries.
want you to give one thing that every doctoral student should remember. Name one thing.
Your purpose. So
Mm, that's a good one.
you when you go through this process, you have to remember your why, your purpose. Why did you start this journey? What does it
Hmm.
mean to you, and what are you going to get out of it in the future? If you cannot identify that, then the doctoral journey probably is not for the one for you. And so you have to understand your purpose, and if you can align your purpose with your passion, and that
Hmm.
aligns with your study, I think you'll get through it.
Hmm. And where can we find your doctoral, excuse me, your dissertation topic? Is you published in ProQuest?
It is published in ProQuest.
Okay.
So
And
yes, publishing in ProQuest, and I plan on still publishing in a couple of different journals that I have reached out to, and I
okay.
can follow up with those submissions and other places you can find it. But it is published in ProQuest, and I can send you the link that could be tagged underneath the
Yeah, that's
video.
okay. Yeah. Can you mind if I share it? Share your
That's
okay,
that's
cool.
perfect.
Like, man, this has been a phenomenal, man. We're gonna have to do this again.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to do this again, man.
Hey,
Yeah,
anytime, man. Anytime.
yeah.
I really enjoy it, and hopefully, I didn't overly talk, but hopefully it'll help somebody out there that's listening to understand that the journey is a
Okay.
difficult one, but it's worth it.
Okay. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
you have a good one.
You too, Dr. Brown. Talk to you later.
You too, Dr. Clark.
Bye.
Yeah.